Dr. Amadou Danjuma Alade. I am the coordinator.
My name is Honorable Isa, Chairman, Kogi Local Government. And
we call you. It is imperative that we set the record straight. There are so many discrepancies in most of the reports and in most of the proceedings. If you recall, we raised an alarm before the tribunal judgment that something is fundamentally wrong, that just some few days before the judgment, we're not even aware that the judgment is going to be on the 27th of May. We saw it on media. It was the same APC people, the Ododo group, that were celebrating their victory, knowing the day of the judgment. As a spokesperson of the campaign council, I called our lawyers and they were not informed. They were informed on Sunday that the judgment indeed is going to be on Monday, 27th of May. And the judgment went in the favor of Ododo, the APC. The same thing applicable to appeal court. They celebrated the judgment. The judgment was slated for 11 a.m. and was shifted again to 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. thereabout. And before 8 a.m. at 9 a.m. in the morning, they were already celebrating their victories. And it came to pass. We appealed to Supreme Court. They just filed their defense, not up to 48 hours. And they are the same people who are giving the date of the judgment to be on the 16th of August, already in favor of Ododo. We have the copies of them that I've sent to many of the media house. And we don't want to take it for granted. Something is fundamentally wrong with our judiciary system. And that reminds me the statement of the Chief Justice, that the justice in Nigeria is no longer for common man. Justice in Nigeria is now too expensive. And we have people in government, who is the Ododo in government, occupying the Lugard House, approving billions upon billions for different projects that we don't know, and we have not seen them. Where do they got the money to approve 17 billion, 5 billion, 2 billion, and all these at once infrastructure that are not visible while we are still in court, and they are celebrating. And we want to let the judiciary know, the Supreme Court, know that we believe, as campaign council, as also members of civil society organizations, they are going to uphold the rule of law, and they are not going to bastardize our case on the altars of technicalities. Nigeria constitution is very important in Africa. Nigeria judgment have been used in several countries as a reference. This same court have gone to Supreme Court, and the judgment was in the favor of SDP and Murtala Ajaka, that the displaying of beavers at the court, putting custody of the beavers at the court, was at the jurisdiction, at the right of the tribunal judges, and that they acted according to the law, and that is a self-inflicted injury. Now let me remind you, the same judgment went to appeal court in the case of Bayelsa. Two conflicting judgment. Bayelsa, they were told that there was no evidence of the beavers to support their claim of overvoting. But in the case of Kogi State, we displayed, ventilated the beavers, polling unit by polling unit. Over 500 polling unit beavers were ventilated in an open court. I kept saying this, beavers is like a CCTV. It's like the camera you are using to capture us now in a real time. With this camera, you don't need to ask anybody here who is here and who is not here. All you need to do is to go into the camera. Why are you asking the security, who do you see going, who is do you see so person in that press conference? Is that not an irony? When we have a camera that we should look into, which is the beavers. If we continue on this trajectory of injustice, then we have INEC who will rig the election, who are the elite. And I said this before, it is time we should change the so-called professors leading INEC as an returning officers. If one institution have failed Nigerians, we should look elsewhere. And I want to tell you, the men of the press, this country, the justice and the freedom of Nigeria lies on your shoulders. How you broadcast your news, how you spread this news, that we are putting the judiciary, the Supreme Court on their feet. That look, these people have started celebrating while you have not even started your sitting. Something is wrong. And we will not watch it to happen, and I know they will not allow it to happen. They will not destroy our constitution. Beavers was our only hope. See, every Nigeria youth, calm down. Some of the protests you are seeing today couldn't take place during Buhari because Buhari gave us hope that we can elect our own in 2023 by the help of beavers. Now that they are jettisoning that beavers, sorry to say it, Nigeria must do something urgently before it is too late. The president must stand up as a first duty to reform INEC, reform the judiciary with their own mouth, with what they have said. And without saying going too far, I want my colleague here to also give his own view about the whole thing. Okay.
Thank you so much, Heidi Jele, and thank you, men of the press. In addendum to what he has said, I want to remind Nigeria today that our taxpayers' money was used to purchase beavers. And that beavers in question was supposed to be used to eradicate overvoting, or to make sure they correct the overvoting system that need to require the presence of a witness. Now, the politicians have found it worthy that because they know if as soon as they commence with overvoting or they finish their overvoting, that the court will want to say you should go and bring witness. The first thing they do is to victimize, intimidate, and make sure those witness does not appear. And that was why Professor Mahmoud took huge amount from this country to go and purchase beavers in order to make sure that that does not happen. But as it stands today, we are still going back to that orthodox method, because the reason we say orthodox method is that the moment beavers was introduced, it became an innovation to eradicate what we've been passing through. But that is not happening. We are still asked to go and produce witness. And we know during the time of the tribunal, when witnesses were coming, they started burning their house. We still went to social media and shout. Nothing was done. Everywhere was calm, saying the security were under control, taking total control of the situation, which is not true. Now, if you said you purchase beavers for beavers to help caution or for beavers to help correct the abnormalities of electoral malpractices that was going on before, what is now happening? Why are we now bringing beavers, ventilating beavers, and instead of them looking into beavers, nobody is saying anything about beavers? Everybody is going back again that we should go and start calling, witnesses from their polling unit, which we know definitely all the witnesses are always scared of appearing. And sometimes they will say these witnesses, even though if they are appearing, they don't allow them to cover their face. They open their face, they try to make sure that they expose them to this politician. And when these people will be kidnapped, when these people will be dealt with, nobody say anything. Even if their family comes to cry out, nobody is saying anything. This country today, I want you people to understand that Nigeria is for all, and the judiciary is supposed to serve as a buffer between the common masses and even the INEC. In a situation where INEC took it upon themselves and refused to do the right thing, judiciary is supposed to be the hope of the common masses. But today they've become a kind of caricature or a mediocre to themselves, that a higher bidder will have to make sure that they come in, bring in the poor masses money that was supposed to be used for construction, that was supposed to be used for development of the place, and give it to 2 or 3 persons that sit to write one judgment just because of somebody. Now, other states are waiting, trying to see what the Supreme will do if it will revite itself, because they have made ruling in terms of Nasarawa case, in terms of Plateau case, and in terms of even Atiku case. Now we are in Kogi State. Kogi State judgment has contradicted itself with that of Bayelsa. That one, which is Kogi State, has proof of beavers, which was never looked upon, and one of, Bayelsa, had a case too, that they are asking them that they should call upon beavers. Now we want to know what the Supreme is going to do, whether they like it or not, or the propagating, or maybe the propaganda that has been going on about that maybe judgment is sustained or judgment is not sustained. We've seen it happening before. They've given APC a date which they've thrown to the media, and our legal counsels were not involved. At the end, a day before then, that same date came to reality. And that is why at this point, we are not going to keep quiet. If there's anything going on, I think Nigeria is supposed to know that there is a problem in this country. Until the judiciary wants to do the right thing, they should do the right thing and save the common hope. The protesters today happening is because they realize that there's nobody they can cry to, and they are taking the laws into their hands. Even though if they said they are going for peaceful protest, we've seen what it has turned to. And if the judiciary is not trying to help this country, everybody will want to try and defend themselves. Come 2027, we will not hope on beavers again. We'll find our way to make sure that our hope and our vote count in a way that is supposed to be counted. So I am urging you people as the men of the press to help us report this case to whoever wants to listen to. Mr. President, he is a product of beavers, and by the grace of God, we know that he will not want to tarnish the image of beavers, because beavers was something that was introduced, an innovation that we were never even, we didn't even know there was something like beavers existing. Not until they brought it and demonstrated it and told us the cost of it. Even the National Assembly rejected that amount. They wanted to reject the bill. But because we were convinced that this can put a whole lot of rest to what they call election fraud. And that was why we went into it. That even caused us to even starve, because the money that was put into beavers was not a small amount of money. Now, if the beavers now can just be ridiculed the way it's being ridiculed, sometimes they talk about high rev, sometimes they talk about back and Savayer, and they're trying to look for technicalities. That is what judiciaries have turned themselves to be now. They will dodge away from the fact and start thinking of technicalities. I have stolen, and they know that I am a thief. Instead of them to see, this is armed robber, catch this armed robber, they'll start asking, what kind of clothes did I wear? Did I enter inside your room with shoe? Did I kill anybody? And before you know, the event of things will just take time, and before you know, they discharge the armed robber, and the armed robber goes. The reason why there's CCTV, according to IG, is because we don't want to invite witness again. What we want to do is to make sure, let CCTV does its work. It has already captured the event of real time that this person has really committed a crime. Let the person go in for it. Why looking for a witness when there's already an evidence? A digital evidence showing you this clear image that this is what this person has done. That is what is required of beavers. Now, beavers will show you the real time of overvoting and the real time of revoting. And with that alone, you don't even need to call for any witness, because that is what you've installed. That is what you say you have a backend server that records it. That cannot be manipulated. That cannot be tampered with. You are so sure, and you gave Nigeria the right and gave Nigeria the confidence that this is our hope. Why now and all of a sudden you are still calling back on witness that family should come and endanger their life because you felt you wanted to do it your own way? If beavers cannot be trusted, Professor Mahmoud should come back and give us our taxpayer money that he used in that thing, and make sure that we continue with the normal pattern of our voting. Thank you.
Thank you, IJ and Honorable Alade. In addition to what my colleagues have actually put out there, the only thing left is for us to interrogate the credibility of the judiciary. It's important. Now, the trajectory of what has happened in the past, over the past few months, concerning the judgment of the tribunal and the appeal court, we need to ensure that the Supreme Court is put on its toes to make sure that they reflect on the yearnings of the people. We are asking them to carry out a proper review of the judgment of the tribunal and the judgment of the appeal, and reference it to the judgment of Plateau and Nasarawa. these cases are almost related. So we're not going to say too much, but it's important that we put the judiciary on its toes to do the right thing and ensure that INEC is put on its the right spot. Thank you very much.
Okay, and in conclusion, number one, if Mr. President did not interfere in these corrupt practices of the judiciary, what I can guarantee him is very simple. Sambisa Forest will produce 10 million results against him in 2027. Without accreditation, Kano State will produce 20 million. As long as there is no accreditation in our electoral system, then forget about figure. Everybody are going to be writing figures, and I promise the same thing I will write from my bedroom. And we are urging and begging the Supreme Court to please give justice to the people of Kogi State. The man that the EFCC are looking for is right in the government house. He was picked up by his son. And is he above the law? So does that mean just two people can hold the whole Nigeria hostage without a solution?